Okay, I'm also going to launch a poll here as well. So hopefully you should see it here. Are rebates within TOS? And have you seen any actual proof of suspensions through running promotions? So if we can hit the polls there, it'd be interesting to get some feedback. Are rebates within TOS? 60% so far saying yes, you're saying no. Have you seen any actual proof of suspensions through running promotions? Yes, I can prove it. No, 100%.
You said yes, I can prove it got 100%?
No, the opposite.
Oh, no.
So no one can prove that promotions or URLs basically are causing suspensions. So that's good because obviously that's the word on the street, isn't it? Even other like webinars are promoting it, saying how dangerous promotions and stuff are. I think what's dangerous is misinformation.
Yeah.
I think we should, you know, even with Liran, you and I, we done a webinar, didn't get it, sorry, a Facebook Live, didn't get it quite right. So what did we do next day? We corrected our path.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, it's not for us to be right. It's about having the right information at hand to share with people. So far, what we've got is we asked the question, are rebates within terms of service? Now, this is a split one. It's 50-50 on the votes here. And the next one is, have you seen actual proof of suspensions through running promotions? And the question was, yes, I can prove it. And the other answer is no. And the answer is basically, from the votes here, is 100% no. Now, obviously, people have different opinions on this. A lot of people are spreading misinformation about doing giveaways and promos and URLs and stuff. I was in Amazon 2 weeks ago, and I asked point blank in a meeting, what is going on with with discounts and URLs and things like that? And they basically said to me, no one has ever been suspended for a URL nor for a promotion. It's always related to something else because there's always something associated. And the problem that you find is that people are not providing that information in groups. So they may say they've been suspended for X, but you never see their full flow. You never actually see a full breakdown of everything that they've done in and around that promotion and the reasoning why they get suspension. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to change. It doesn't mean it's not going to change in the future. And if that's the case, then that's fine. If it goes against terms of service, then so be it. But the key thing for me, there shouldn't be misinformation out there. And spreading lies doesn't help anything, and it doesn't help the community. So I'd like to start getting some feedback off some of the guys here. Can we start with you, Casey? Now, it could be considered biased because you run a launch service, but I'm going to then ask questions of others who don't run a launch service and get their opinion on it. Off you go. Your mic. Yeah, go.
Thank you very much. There's a lot of crashing in the background. So yeah, I'm obviously biased, but I do want to stipulate giveaways or launches are like 8% of our business at this point. So our focus is on providing, sellers the best strategies for success, not just, selling a particular service. So when it comes to suspensions or giveaways in general, basically here's what we're seeing is, essentially what we're seeing is people are, it's largely new accounts, and there's this thing called sales velocity limit. And this has been around for a long time, but the way that Amazon is enforcing them and using them is now different, at least from what we are told in our understanding from Amazon. So a new seller hits this sales velocity limit. Amazon is looking at past 30-day sales or sales history, and then they have some kind of assumptions around this cap, where if you exceed this cap, then this may be suspicious activity, and we need to go in and further monitor and review the account and what is going on. And essentially during this manual review process is when people are getting suspended. So it's not because you are running discounts. It's not because you're driving too many sales inherently. It's other factors that come along with that. And the biggest ones are, collusion is a word that's being tossed around quite a bit within Amazon. And so what we think here is that you have people using multiple buyer accounts to grab multiple discounts from one single promotion. So in groups like Viral Launch, you have people that unfortunately go and do arbitrage off of these products. So they'll use a few different Amazon accounts, they'll buy multiple units so that they can resell them. And through this process, they are, making it look as though you are gaming the system and colluding. Also through this process, if you have something suspicious with your email follow-up sequence, Amazon is really going in and looking at a lot of different factors, and this is what is driving the actual suspension. What we haven't figured out is exactly, is it only collusion, or is it that a significant portion of your sales are at the 90% off or the significant discount? So what we've done, and the data so far is that we've moved all of our promotions to 65% off, and we've had no issues at the 65% off. Now that can mean one of two things. One is that there's some barrier around 70% where if there's a significant amount of sales driven with a coupon at 70% off or a greater discount, then that triggers a suspension. That triggers the manual review, but then after looking further, will trigger the suspension. Or this means that the hijackers, these people arbitraging in these groups off of promotions, are no longer incentivized to make all these purchases because the margin is being eroded by the less significant discount. So we haven't seen any issues. And to the point of URLs, we've seen people that have gotten in trouble for just using a straight up canonical URL, no QID, no keywords in the URL or anything like that. And then, we've seen people get in trouble for using those URLs as well. So I don't think it's anything to do with the URLs. That's our take.
Cool. Liran, what's your take?
Pretty much, I think exactly what Casey said. As far as you're talking about as far as the suspensions and using or URLs.
Yeah.
What I've seen and recently I started asking in groups. When people post hey, I ran a promotion. I used a launch service or I ran a promotion. I've seen suspensions when people just run Facebook ads too. So I don't think it's specific to to launch services. But I've seen people post, and I'm starting to ask them, did you run 90% off? They said yes. How long has your account been open? I opened it in January. So what I'm seeing a lot is people who've opened accounts in the last 6 months and running 90% off promotions. So based on this, it to me makes a lot of sense that, yeah, there is some kind of accounts getting flagged for sales velocity. Somebody's then looking at it, seeing that everything, an account goes from, $50 a day in sales to $1,000 a day. And then all it is 90% off promotions, and Amazon is suspending the account. I don't think, like Casey said, it has anything to do with URLs. I think if you're running promotions, you also want to use multiple strategies, not just 80% off giveaways or 90% off giveaways. You want to use PPC, I think you can still use just like Casey said, 60-70% off to drive rank. Probably a better strategy would be first drive PPC, get ranked, between page, 2 and 5, and then do some kind of promotion, either like a search, find, buy, getting people to search, find, buy, potentially with a back-end rebate or a discounted promotion. I think both will work well.
Sounds good. Okay, so does anyone else want to add to this before we start moving on to some of the questions?
Yeah, what I'd just say is I think this breaks down into a few different areas. I think you've got the buyers and the buyer history. You've got the promotion and the level of discount in the bigger picture of the entire promotion. So if you've gone through a promotion of 100 items, how many of those 100 items are at 99% off? How many of them are organic? And then I think it then comes down to the velocity as well. As Casey said, the velocity triggers have always been there. I just think they're more on Amazon's radar now as they try and clean up the platform, especially with some of the bad press they've had recently. So if you break those three things down, the buyer account and the history of the buyer account, are these buyer accounts buying from the same accounts over and over again, and they've got 2 years worth of history of 99% off? Think of it like a quality score on the buyer account. So who are the buyers impacting your listing? So that's one thing to think about. I think secondly, to Casey's point, I don't believe it's the link, because unless you're doing some really naughty stuff, to Amazon, it's just a session, whether it's a direct session, a referred session, or a manual session internally through pages, it's just a session. But I think it comes down to Liran's point, when running your promotion, you can't be a one-trick pony. I think promotions are standard. If you go to a supermarket, you look at the end of an aisle, it says trial pricing. There's a promotional item there because they're trying to build awareness, and they're trading price for social proof because they don't yet have the reviews. So I think Amazon understands this and knows this. But if they see a big spike in velocity over the course of 8-10 days, whatever figure you want to put on it, every item has come through a launch service, every item is 99% off, and you haven't turned on your PPC, you haven't driven your house list, you haven't sprinkled in some Facebook ads, so it's actually an organic launch with varying price points, then of course you're going to raise some flags. If they then look at it and see the buyers that are buying these accounts have got 2 years worth of 99% off, of course it's manipulation. So I don't think anything's changed. I just think that the level of discount, the velocity is just spiking more triggers. Amazon are getting more wise to it. They're putting the hammer down a bit stronger. And it just means we've got to implement proper marketing techniques, not rely on just one size fits all type approaches, because of course you're going to raise triggers. But I think it's down to the buyer account as well, not just the discounts.
Yeah, makes sense. Yep, go on.
Yeah, if I could, I'd add to
please,
examples.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of examples, but one example, this guy comes in, he runs a promotion, gets a warning email. We say, hey, you should probably stop and just wait and see what happens. He says no, keeps running the promotion, ends up getting suspended. He thought it was due to his review. So in his POA, all he said was, I'm going to change my email follow-up sequence, blah, blah, blah. They reinstate him later that day, and then runs another promotion, despite our suggestions, runs another promotion, gets suspended again, and then this is when he has a call with Amazon. They talk about sales velocity limits. And then Amazon, moved his sales velocity limits up so that he could continue running those promotions. So that's one example. And then two, we are running like hundreds of launches every single day, and it's only a fraction of those that are getting suspended. And again, it's these newer accounts. So plenty of friends that are doing significant volume, and they'll go and they'll launch brand new products on these promotions, whether it's with Fire Launch or whatever, and they're not seeing any issues. So I just want to share a little bit more data. Again, yeah. I've come on record and said for the majority of people, I don't think you should be running giveaways. I think there's better alternatives out there, much like Dan and Liran are talking about. So just wanted to share the additional data.
Exactly, that's the point. Sorry, that's the point. So you run, obviously you've raised a round of funding, you're doing tools and stuff now. But the point that you're making, you're not trying to say you must run promotion. You're saying they had their place, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the key. So that's for me, like, you've got to remove your biases. Like, I couldn't give a shit about promotions. I run a PPC agency. I should be really biased and say, just do PPC only. But I don't, because it's bollocks. It's just misinformation. Sorry, Dan, you was going to say that?
Yeah, there was, just thinking back, actually, we were in China recently, Athena and I, with 100 sellers, and obviously being out there, the mature sellers, they're doing a good job. While in China, we had 2 sellers get suspended, both fairly new accounts, both during promotion. One was using a well-known launch service, it wasn't Viral Launch, and one was using a well-known platform to facilitate launch. I won't go into the name, but both of which were just 100% deep discounts. And it was just the velocity spike. Within 2 days, I sat there helping. It was Ramon, actually. I think he might be on the call. We were trying to get that figured out, and I know he got the account recovered. And it was purely because it hit that level. It hit that spike. He'd been running too of a heavy discount. That's all he was doing. So as soon as he stepped back, explained where the velocity had come from, and the fact that it was a new product, this is what he was doing, Amazon were fine with it and reinstated the account. So I think it's just kind of guilty until proven innocent at the moment.
Yeah. Liran, you was going to say something there.
Oh, as Casey was talking, you were saying that you're running hundreds of launches and you're seeing only a fraction of suspensions. But I guess you've also said you haven't seen anything since you've dropped down the discount, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
That makes sense. Well, that leads into Michelle's question. So we use ManyChat to issue single-use coupon codes. Should we now be using 65%? And are we safe to use URLs as opposed to search and buy? I think we've answered that question. Are you happy with that, Michelle? Give us a shout in the box.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Michelle's actually got some good data from Amazon themselves. Michelle's got a senior account manager, Sam. Right. And Michelle challenged those guys directly on this a couple of weeks ago. And just to back Michelle's point, I know she sat there going, damn, don't bring me on. But just about that point, Michelle had this validated from her senior account manager as well. And they're on the same sort of page as us.
Yeah. Sounds good. Anyone want to add there before we go on to Steve's question?